Hi everyone, welcome back for the final lap, the wrap up of the King of Spades analysis. I think this is the most important card that we should pay the most attention to. When we learn about a spread, a certain spread, we don't just learn about that person, right? Person being born on that day. They are just an example of this principle, okay? So this is the spread that teaches us about liberation more than any other spread. And so it's a very important spread. It's a spread that teaches us how to deal with the toughest hardship in the world. So everyone who believes that maybe someday we will have to go through severe hardship and we feel this desperate, we should look at this. This is an extremely hopeful spread, as I'm going to tell you if you haven't watched the other videos. Actually, when I'm recording this, there is a wonderful tropical rain going on here, and Jupiter is close because I hear the thunder too. It was closer and stronger a while ago, but now it's a very nice giving rain. And that is King of Spades, going through a very hard period of maybe what do we call it, dryness, when it doesn't drought. That's not such an easy word. Severe drought, and then the rain comes. That's the King of Spades experience. So you would expect King of Spades to be a tough and abrasive person, and they can be, I guess, but there is always going to be a duality. They are going to be an extremely nice, innocent aspect to them too. As I shown with this Jack of Hearts in a very, very strong position here. Well, I've been talking about that extensively, but it's an extremely strong duality between being really tough and hard, and also innocence and joy and so on. Much like coming out of a tough period, like in at least where I come from in Northern Europe, forests should burn periodically, and then they are going to be renewed. There are going to be more herbs, more insects, more birds, more life in that forest, and not a monoculture, which tends to happen when there are no burning of the forest. So that's what this is about. And again, it applies to any of us who, for example, Nelson Mandela. He has King of Spades on his moon card. He's a 10 of clubs. So he knows a lot about King of Spades experience, and he's, in a way, he's a King of Spades, since it's his moon card. He spent 27 years in prison on Robben Island, and he had to kill his ego. His only way out, he had plenty of time to think it over, and he realized that if he wanted to get out of there, not just physically, but intact as a person, not losing sight of his innocent part, his inner child, his Jack of Hearts, not only slaying his mental dragons in King of Spades, no, being joyful and happy and thankful. This is a spread about thankfulness, being grateful because I survived. It's so much about being grateful because I survived. The only way for him was to overcome his ego, which is what this spread is all about, and letting go of every idea, very fair idea, very just idea about me being a victim, them being invaders, them being liars. It's their fault, and maybe he was right, at least from an earthly position. On Earth we would say he's right, but what do we know about what he had done in earlier lives, right? And even in this lifetime, he was involved in terrorist actions. Whether right or wrong, I mean, it's not up to me to say. But when we realize that we are not in charge of right or wrong, and we are not to judge, and we just have to let go of every idea about right and wrong, well, then you can get along with your enemies, right? Or those who used to be your enemies. And you can befriend the what do you call them? The guards in this tough prison. And that is what King of Spades is about. I mentioned this movie Dogville as an example of a King of Spades experience. It turns out that the director, as I said, is Five of Clubs, but also yeah, that I spoke about, I think, in an earlier video. That doesn't mind right now. But Nicole Kidman, who made Grace, the main character, she's a 10 of clubs too, just like Nelson Mandela. So she too has King of Spades on her moon card, and she expresses a similar experience. And then this guy who was caught by a boulder, you know, and was hanging over a, what do you call it? He fell down in a gorge, I don't know the name for it. He fell down and was caught by a holder between two cliffs, and there was hanging. And he came to realize that the only way for him to get free was to first break his arm that still wasn't broken, on purpose break his own arm, and then he had to cut it off with a knife, and then he was free to go, right? That is overcoming ego, right? And overcoming fear. Because at the end of the day, the pain and the fear, what is it? It's ego, right? He wasn't a King of Spades, but I think he was a 7 of Hearts. I don't remember his name, but I checked it up. And 7 of Hearts has, if we look at it, 9 of Clubs as their Jupiter card, and they have these tough hearts on Kings, which should have a similar effect as, and they have Jack of Spades very prominent, Jack of Hearts, so that should have a similar effect, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that we should all study every card from its experience, right? So if we want to do about the experience of getting humble, then actually, well, I shouldn't have done that. Then actually it's King of Spades that we should look at. Because out of humbleness is the key, right? Humbleness, being humble or humility, is the key to liberation, really, right? Because it makes us joyful, it makes us grateful, it makes us better people, and it makes us open to new suggestions, to do things in a better way, and think in a better way, which is what 5 of Clubs in Jupiter position is about. Letting go of your mental baggage, right? So if you are into devotion, study 3 of Hearts, by all means. If you are into looking for truth, the right system, the right philosophy, look at 5 of Clubs. If you are into overcoming grief and letting go of someone, if you have problem with that, look at 7 of Hearts. I mean, the spread. The cards tells us a lot, but studying the spread gives depth to understanding that experience, okay? So King of Spades is the experience of overcoming the most impossible things. Being Nelson Mandela and letting go of your anger and your hatred towards white people and your oppressors. Wow. That's, I mean, he's famous for that achievement, right? Or overcoming, daring to break your own arm and cut it off. In Oaxaca in Mexico, there was a woman 20 years ago, 26 I think years ago, who lived in a foreign place, and she was alone, and she had to make a C-section on herself with her kitchen knife. That kind of situation. I wish I knew her chart. That kind of situation. Now, Can you imagine the amount of gratefulness that is going to run through your body after having saved your life after such an experience? That's what King of Spades is about, okay? That's a calf in Sweden where I grew up in May, when they come out of the stable where it has been born and locked up its own life and sees green fields for the first time in its life, right? That is what a healthy King of Spades person is like. Okay? And that's how we should be when we go through hardship, right? So any hardship, why shouldn't we think the same way, apply the same philosophy to minor hardship? You know, why do we have to wait to the really tough, to being victorious over cancer for to become gratefulness? I mean, we shouldn't. We should learn from this spread. And I have a King of Spades at my side, my wife, and I'm so grateful because she teaches me a lot. For example, she teaches me about 5 of clubs on the Jupiter card. Don't hold on to grudges, and don't hold on to guilt. Why did I do? Or don't hold up to shame. I mean, observe it, analyze it, let it go, get over it. This is like get over it. That's what King of Spades teaches us in this situation. Get over it. That applies to all of us. Here is another position I want to comment. 9 of Spades is the key to, it's the key to King of Spades. It's the key to 9 of Spades in the Pluto position. It's the key to overcome ourselves, to be on top of ourselves. It's the key to true happiness, right? Because again, this is such a happy card, as we can see, the relief of being being set free after 27 years in prison, right? So this is the card that sets us free, and this is the key card. Because this is 13, right? King is a number 13, and this is the 13th position. Aha, that makes it really important, right? Yeah. It's a king card in the king position, sure, but then there is an overlying king behind it. Wow, it makes it stronger. But then also the 9 of Spades, the card that shows up there, is one of the 3 cards personified by King of Spades. This is a 7, 8, and 9 of king, dressed up as a king. And it's strongest in 9. So this is like a repetition of the birth card itself. Wow, now we can see why it's such an important position. And this is the card, 9 of Spades is the card of giving up. It's the dead log on the tree. It's the card of giving up ourselves. Being completely humble and accepting what, like Arjuna had to accept, yes, you have to go to war. In the Gita, I related to that in the analysis video. And Krishna said, I'm even going to drive your chariot. That's being victorious, right? That's the image of being really happy here, you know. I got away from this conundrum, how do you say? And now Krishna drives my chariot. So they are extremely, or we are, when we behave like King of Spades in a tough situation, when we don't hold on to grudges, everything that King of Spades do that you can see in the previous video, well, then we get mature in 6 of Spades, and we gain all this happiness. Okay? Now, so this is the key card. The key of being humble in the position of humbleness, right? Pointed out by the king itself here. Look at the underlying card. It's King of Hearts. In its own position, it's in a king position. A King of Hearts is overcoming our emotional limitations. So that's someone who has to overcome the fear of cutting off his own arm, right? Or overcome his anger and hatred. Yeah, you see the theme, okay? I repeat myself here. But this is also the father card. So this is like having had a healthy father, one who says no. If you don't like the idea of father, I say it can be a woman, it can be a mother. Sure, it can. But the archetype is a father. And generally speaking, I dare to say that it's better to have a father teaching you about emotional discipline, applying tough love, because it's more natural for a man, Men are traditionally more brought up with hardship of that kind, emotional hardship. And mother is and should be busy feeding, nurturing. She's in charge, she's the good cop, Someone has to be the good cop. And that's the mother. And a small child, or a child in general, can be really confused by the mother changing into a harsh position, suddenly being like mean and hard, and you shouldn't do that, It can hurt the child. So ideally, this is an example of why mothers and fathers, or men and women in general, works best together bringing up the kids. Because having a fertile soil to grow humility in, help us to become strong in 6 of spades, and it opens up all this happiness. Because if we are not being, and it can be a grandmother. My wife, for example, she had a very strict father, but she also had a wonderful grandmother who also had a very strict side to it sometimes, Grandmothers often are strong in the male side in a natural way, in a natural and healthy way, especially if they have previously in their life done their feminine side, So when they are done with the feminine side, at a certain age they go over. Patricia Allen and Ernst teaches us about this. Then they are ready to embrace their masculine side, and they can be just like a father, teaching about limitations, right, and borders. But anyway, if a king of spades do have a strict father, or a grandmother, or someone in a similar position, it helps them a lot, because it's a lot easier for them to accept what Krishna is telling them. Yes, you are going to fight. Yes, you are a kshatriya, he said to Arjuna, right? You have to fight. And if they don't have emotional discipline, they go, nah, I can't do it, I'm still not gonna do it, and they miss the chance. Okay? So emotional discipline, and ideally having had a strong father or that kind of person in the childhood is very, very helpful to them, and it's helpful to any one of us who have to cut our arm off. Going to cancer therapy, if you choose chemos and all that stuff, it's not an easy thing to do, right? And then it helps to be humble and to be on top of your emotions, So that's one observation that I want to do to stress out here, the importance of can I even do this, because I don't know. Father, okay. What more do I want to stress out? Yeah, that they are very. We should not be dogmatic. I grew up in a Lutheran Christian kind of environment, and they always spoke about being born again. Born again, born again. I met Christ and now I'm born again. Yeah, you're born again, okay? Then why do you stick to dogma? You were just born again. This is all about not being dogmatic. Queen of clubs. They learn about traditions, they learn about the established way, but king of spades, but they let go of it, and they come up with something new, more fun, more, and in the very situation they come up with a solution. It changed their mind when they need to. So if you're born again, why stick to a Bible of any kind? I've seen the light in the tunnel, now I'm born again, now I'm going to be a vegan the rest of my life. Good for you, be a vegan, but don't be dogmatic about it, because then you lose the advantage of having been born again, right? Or whatever it is, Greta Thunberg dogma, or any dogma, just don't. That's what King of Spades teaches us, since they let go of every dogma and joyfully finds up a new way of dealing with stuff. Yeah, this is becoming okay. One last thing. They're fond of this is like this John Lennon song, Imagine there's no heaven, it's easy if you try. Imagine a better world. That's the idealistic vision of 9 of clubs, and they connect to that on a deeply way. Why? Because they are new, right? They don't have this dogma. Like, I am a king of clubs, this is my Saturn card, I'm not allowed to believe, imagine is like a forbidden song to me, right? No, don't imagine anything, focus on your shit, and let the word rule itself. Let the divine take care of the word. It's not your fucking task, right? Sorry for swearing. But King of Spades, since they are being humbled, they have this wonderful innocence, and they have all this enthusiasm about something new, They have intuition here. They are what's the word for it? Wonderfully what's the word for it? Devoted here. They're good devotees. They are not being dogmatic. Yeah, go for it. Go for it. You are the ones to come up with a better idea. You, King of Spades. Or now, Nelson Mandela doesn't have this in his card, in his spread. It falls outside of this. But he, as a moon card, as a King of Spades moon, he does have it, you could say, right? If you read this as his moon card, yeah, sure. And he came up with a new political philosophy for South Africa, right? So that's another prize that we win when we go through, all those people who have been dead and come back, and they tell us about the tunnel and everything. Yeah, they often have insights about how a good life on earth should be lived in harmony with a higher purpose, right? Higher philosophy. In Mexico, there are those people who have been struck by the lightning. Some of them become like holy men and women because they have seen something more, They are touched by God. And again, let's listen to them, what they have to say about politics, veganism, feminism, or its counterpart, the red pill movement. We should not get wrapped up in any of these movements. We should be more humble and have a more open mind, and listen to the person, the ones who have really gone through the most extreme hardships and come out with a healthy optimism and joy and gratefulness. So that's King of Spades for you. Thank you.